Welcome to Quickshots.
Welcome to Quickshots, where we, your favourite cousins, take your questions and try and give you relatively quick answers. I'm going to start this one, Simone. Lots of people have equity in our houses today that is undrawn, but with interest rates so high, this means if we were to borrow it and use it, we'd be negatively geared on an investment and higher cash flow if we were to buy another property, as the rent won't cover the interest repayments. Do we just ride it out, or do we wait for interest rates to come down?
Wow, like seriously, am I really starting off on that as a big question? Okay, so basically what I'm hearing from Simone here is that they're asking if, you just cop the negatively geared property for the sake of it. Look, I think number one is like you've got to assess your affordability, right? You've got to assess your affordability with the banks. Can you borrow in the first instance? Number one. Number two is, are you comfortable with how much you're going to have to chip in per week? There's some cool property apps or applications where you can calculate your weekly cash flow. And what it will actually calculate for you is your pre-tax cash flow and your post-tax cash flow. Interestingly, a lot of people talk about our rent not covering our repayments. Your rent is one form of income. The second is getting your tax back. So there could be a scenario where you actually have a tax variation in place, where instead of getting that big chunk at the end of the financial year, your accountant helps you get a variation where you actually pay less tax as you go through the year, meaning you get more money in your pay packet. So that may in fact top up the negative that you would be just from your rent by having a tax variation. So look, ultimately it's up to you. I would just say never wait. Waiting seems to be one of the biggest mistakes, which we should have done in that episode. We talked about mistakes, but a few different ways to look at it, that one. All right, this one's from Jordan. I see Queensland have introduced a 12-month rental cap. What does it mean for property investors and tenants?
Yeah, so good question, and hot off the press, Queensland have introduced a new rental cap. It's not a cap on the amount that you can increase the rents by. What it is, though, is a cap on the frequency. So basically it means you can only increase your rent every 12 months. Now, some people might be thinking, I thought that was normal. No, in Queensland, you used to be able to do it I think every 6 months, whereas now it's 12 months. Most capital cities in Australia already have a law that ensures tenants don't cop more than one rent increase in a 12-month period. So it just means that when your lease comes up for renewal or you get to the expiry of a term, you just got to do your research and bear in mind that you will be, if you're increasing the rent, you will be having to live with that rent for the next 12 months at the same time. So, not a huge difference. Brings Queensland back in line with most of the capital cities around Australia. Rochelle would like to know, at what stage do I need to inform my existing tenants that I'm going to build a granny flat in the backyard, and how much concession should I give them?
Rochelle, clearly
been
listening to our podcast. Legend. Okay, so something I'm actually running at the same time right now with one of my properties is like, what actually do I do? And to be honest, I don't even know if I'm going to go ahead with the granny flat. But I think you've got to actually inform your tenants when you know what's going on, when you know when you're going to actually be building it and you're committed to building it. I would say like sooner rather than later is better with your tenants, or at least pick up the phone and have that discussion with your property manager. But you also don't want to do it too early where you're sort of freaking them out. In terms of how much concession should you give them, I mean, like how long is it going to go on for? How intrusive is it going to be in your backyard? I would sort of maybe start at $20 or $30 a week concession. I know some people are doing like modular homes, which are like a 6-week construction. And it's pretty simple. So, there might be sort of, less disturbance to your main tenant there. which means, $20-$30 is not so bad. And I think it's a bit of a win-win scenario for the tenants there to get a concession. But look, I mean, I would say have a really meaty discussion with your property manager, sort of early-ish stages to sort of sound it out. And you also have to do your numbers on getting less rent for that period of time. So I'd say that's it. Michelle, good luck. I want to hear all about the granny flat actually when you do it.
Yeah, good on you, Michelle.
Call us.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, that wraps us up for this week. I want to say make good choices. Yeah.
Right,
Just go out. I know you're going to make a lot of decisions.
On your moral
just
high horse
generally
there.
try to make good choices. Yeah. Thanks for listening to another episode of The Double Shot with your favourite cousins, Alex and James Fitzgerald. If you've got a burning question or something we absolutely need to talk about on the pod, please write to us. Both of our emails are in the show notes. For little real estate tidbits and a little bit of banter, okay, a lot of banter, you can follow us on the gram. Our handle is thedoubleshot.podcast. That, my friends, is thedoubleshot.podcast. Until next time, think of us when you sit back and sip your next double shot.